Welcome back to the channel where we simplify technology for you. For this episode, we will deal more with response validation in Google Forms. So, response validation in Google Form is a powerful tool that can help you collect more accurate, relevant, and reliable data. So, it allows you to set rules for the type and format of responses that users can enter, which can help to prevent errors, improve the user experience, and save you a lot of time. Okay, so let's get started. So the benefits of this, as I mentioned earlier, is that it increases the data accuracy of our data collected in Google Form by specifying the format and type of responses you accept. You can reduce the chance of errors and ensure the data you collect is accurate. Also, you can improve user experience. Validation can help users understand what kind of responses is expected, reducing confusion and frustration. For example, if you're asking for a date of birth, you can use data validation to ensure that users enter a valid format. And also, you are more efficient. So, the efficiency of your Google Forms. So, validation can save you time by reducing the need for manual data checking and cleaning. So, cleaning up data is time consuming. So, this response validation can help you a lot and save you a lot of time. So, you can focus now on analyzing the data or taking action based on the results. So, maybe you know the basics. So let's refresh the basic of response validation by accepting or validating a text response. Okay, so let's start with the text response. So for the text response, let's create a form first. Okay, so let's create a form. Let me create a new tab and I'll type forms.new. Okay, so we'll have a blank form. So let me increase the form. So let's title this one as response validation. So for example, we want to accept the email address or the email address. So we are not programmers, but we can validate the response if the inputted value or text in this particular text field is a valid email address. So usually, to make sure that everything is filled out, we are going to require them. But for the purpose of this discussion, we'll just turn it off because we want to focus more on the response validation. So response validation indicates that we are asking for this particular text field, we are asking for email address. Now we have this additional drop down, so which means we can now set the validation, meaning we are accepting response email address, so meaning it should be a text value. Okay, and it should contain, so for the first one, it should contain what? So since we are asking for an email address, we will say that it should be a valid email address. So we don't need to program it because we have mentioned that it should be a text of text type and a valid email address. And then you can give a custom error text. Let's say, oops, invalid email. Okay, so you can do that. So let's have another example for text. For example, how do you use .contain? So in my case, I ask for a student's name and I give them direction. Okay, so description, I mean. So start with last name followed by nickname, and then I will ask them to separate them with comma and a space. And then I will also give an example. For example, Garcia, comma, Gary. Okay, so to validate if they will follow or not, because they can type in Gary first and then Garcia, or the first name, nickname first and then last name. To validate that, we can simply click response validation, and then we go to instead of number, we will say it's a text, and this time, that is the time we will say that it should contain a comma and a space. So if for the custom error text, please, okay, let's type, please follow instruction in typing your name. So that's how you make use of the text and the word contains. So for the text, you can restrict the content of the text box not to contain a specific item. So as I have shown earlier, we have email, and if you're asking for a URL, you may want to validate it using the URL. So this is for the text type. Okay, so let's say another item for, so we have given an example for text. Now let me give another example for number. So for example, what is 4 multiply by 5? Okay, 4 times 2. Okay, 4 times, what is 4 times 2? Okay, so the correct answer here, let's say we will make use of a short answer, and then we can now validate the response by selecting response validation. Now it is number by default. So 4 times 2 is 8. So we are not going to use the greater than, because you may, for a number, you have this particular option. Now, if there's a decimal place, you may use is number, which is the safer one, because not everything not all answers are in whole number. So these are the selection for numeric type of text. Okay, numeric, you can use is number, because there might be a question that contains decimal places, so you may use is number instead of whole number. If you are giving them a range, you can state the between or not between, or if there's a certain condition, you can use the comparison operators above. Okay, so you can do that to validate your response. So this is an example. The first one is an example of, the first two examples are of text type, while the third one is of numeric type. Okay, but I know you are more excited to know how to make use of, so we're done with the text, and we're also done with so email address, URL, and then of numeric values, example age also. Okay, so now let's go to response validation using regular expression, or its nickname regex or regex. For regex, it is for regex or regular expression are together used with short answer and matches in Google Forms. So when you use a text box or short answer, so we will make use of response validation, and then we'll make use of regular expression and then matches to make use of regular expression. So what are regex? You can have more control of what they enter. So let me introduce you to regular expression. Okay, for response validation using regular expression, we make use of the following. We have the caret, the square bracket, and plus, and the dollar sign. Okay, so maybe it's confusing to understand, but it's better and it's easier to understand all this with the use of an example. So let's go to a new tab and let's create a new form, forms.new. Okay, so we'll have a new form, and let's take, for example, an entry that will have all text in lowercase. Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we will make use of short answer. Okay, and then we will have response validation, and then we will have regular expression, and also it should match our pattern, because regular expression will control the kind of entry. So for example, we want to have all text in lowercase. Okay, all text in lowercase. So our pattern now will make use of the symbols that I have mentioned earlier. We have the caret, the square bracket. Okay, let me make it bigger so you'll see it clearly. Okay, this is a square bracket. I just put a space because if there's no space, it looks like a rectangle. Okay, and then the plus sign and the dollar sign. Okay, so within the bracket, we will say that we only want to enter all text in lowercase. So it is any letter. So to do that, we'll just simply type A-Z. To enter a text, all text, only text are acceptable in lowercase. Okay, so let's try this out. So you may want to put the custom error text. Okay, so but for this purpose, I will not put any. So let's have the preview of this. And then if I type in Gary, for example, and I go to the next item, or let's say click this one, you will see it doesn't match the pattern because this is the message because we did not put any custom error text. So let's say, let me close this one and go back here. Let's say invalid input, all text should be in lowercase only. Okay, so that's our text message or custom error text. So let's click preview again, and then let's say I'll type in Gary, and if I go to another, when the focus is not on the text field anymore, it will show you the custom error text. So that's how the regular expression work, or the regular expression works. Okay, the validation, we have more control compared to the previous basic response validation. Okay, so let me close this and let's give another example. So for example, we want to have all text in uppercase, all text in uppercase. So how do we force all text in uppercase, or only accept values that is in uppercase? So again, we will make use of short answer, and then we will have the response validation that is using regular expression, and it should match our pattern. So now, what is our pattern? So let me make it bigger again. So just like the example in the example earlier, we will make use of the caret sign, and then we will have the square bracket, square bracket, and then the plus, and then the dollar sign. Okay, so now since we want all text in uppercase, we just put A-Z to state that we only accept, okay, we only accept alphabets from A to Z. Okay, there you go. Now, for example, let's give another example. Okay, let's try this first before we give another example. So for the first one, it should be in lowercase. So all is in lowercase, so there's no more error when I go to the next item. Let's say here, Gary, and then if I go to the other item, no error. But if I type something like Y in small letter and go to the next box, there is an error because our design for this text box is all in uppercase. Okay, so let's continue with another example. So let's say we want to have an example. We want to have a text box wherein it will accept only numbers. Okay, so very easy. There are several ways of doing it, but if you want to know how to use the how do you accept an input all in numeric values, let's create another text box. Enter a number. Okay, so enter a number, for example. So to validate if it's a number, response validation again, and then we can make use of the number. Okay, but later on you will see how do we combine it, because we can make use of this and then just simply state whole number. But right now we're focusing on regular expression because later on we will combine it with text. Okay, So the pattern should be it should be in matches, and this time it should be caret and then square bracket and then dollars plus dollar sign. Okay, so this time, to say that we only accept of numeric value, what we can do here is simply type 0 dash 9, any number from 0 to 9. Okay, so that's how we make use of purely numeric text field. So let's try it out. So let's say I will type in ABC and then 12. When I go to the next field, it will not accept. But if I remove the ABC, it is acceptable. Okay? Because we only allow numeric value for this particular question. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we will combine it with letters. Okay, so how do we combine them? Okay, so let's create another field. Okay, so let's say we combine letters and numbers. So we put let's say enter text and numbers. Okay, so we'll make use of, let's say, short answer. It can be a paragraph, but better, let's make use of short answer. Then go to response validation, and then go to regular expression again, and it should match our pattern. Okay, so caret and then square bracket and then the plus and dollar sign. Now you may ask, how do you combine now the numbers and the letters and numbers? So the numbers and letters can be combined by typing, let's say we want to accept uppercase and numbers only. So A dash Z and then 0 dash 9. So that's how you combine letters and numbers. So let's try it out. So let's click the preview icon and then let's type the numbers. Okay, so let's say ABC in lowercase and then 1, 2, 3. If I go to the next field, you will see it doesn't match the pattern because it should be capital ABC and 1, 2, 3, 4. It's valid because we have capital ABC and then we have numbers. But if we try to put an asterisk, or let's say an asterisk, it will not allow us because it only accepts text and numbers. Okay, so that is how we make use or combine letters and numbers. So we can have many D, E, F, G. Okay, so let's remove the asterisk, so you'll see that it is allowed. Okay, so that is how you combine letters and numbers. Okay, now let's continue with the combination of letters and numbers, but this time let's have a specific example like plate number. In the previous example, we can enter several texts and numbers. In this case, in this particular case, I want to enter 3 alphabets only or 3 letters only and 3 or 4 numbers. Okay, so it's now a combination of a specific items, only 3 letters and there should be 3 or 4 numbers. So how are we going to do that? Let me create a new form, forms.new. What we are going to create now is a combination of, okay, so regular expression, regex. Okay, let's say we are looking for the plate number, and the plate number consists of 3 letters at the beginning and 4 numbers. Okay, so how are we going to do that? We'll make use of short answer, and then we go to response validation. We make use of regular expression, and it should match our pattern. So now the question is, what is our pattern? So again, let me make this one bigger. So our pattern our pattern should be, again, caret, bracket, and then a dollar sign. Okay, the plus sign and the dollar sign. So we only accept a dash z, or numeric. Okay, and we will only accept, okay, we will only accept the next set is, okay, you will see that I am separating them now because the next set is from 0 to 9. Okay, so now this is the first set of characters and the next set of characters. The thing is, how many? Okay, so for the letters, we have to enclose it with the use of curly brackets, and we need to have 3 letters only. So it means there should be A to Z only with 3 characters. While for the numeric, we can have 3 or 4. So we will say 3 or 4. Okay? So we will have 3 or 4, but this time that we have to remove the plus sign, because the plus sign indicates that it can be any. Now, since we are very strict now, what we want to get here is that we have to have A to Z with 3 characters, and then the next set is numeric for 3 or 4 characters only. That is why we have to remove the plus sign. Okay, now let's test this again. Okay, so if I will say A, B, C, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, if I go to another item, it will be invalid. Okay, but if I say capital A, B, C, it recognizes it. But if I put 5 and I go to the next item, it is not accepted anymore because it exceeds the number 4. We can only accept 3 or 4. So let us remove 4 and 5 and let's see if it's valid. So it's 3, so it's now valid. Okay? So that is how you use regular expression. Oh, it's just an introduction. Okay, again, this is just an introduction to regular expression in Google Forms. So if you have any question, if you like this video, kindly give it a thumbs up. If you have any question, please type them in the comments down below. Okay, bye for now.